Hello there. You're now with me, Hari Zainuddin, and this is TVS Nightline. Let's begin with our top stories for today. The Election Commission, or EC, will hold a special meeting in Kuching at 9 a.m. on November 24th to discuss the implementation of Sarawak 12th state election. The meeting will be chaired by its chairman, Dato' Abdul Ghani Saleh, to determine the dates for the election writ, nomination day, polling day, and voter registration.
According to EC Secretary Dato' Ikmaluddin Ishak, a press conference will be held after the meeting. On November 3rd, the Yang di-Pertuan Agong Al-Sultan Abdullah Riayatuddin Al-Mustafa Billah Shah consented to lift the emergency in Sarawak in line with Articles 40 and 40(1)(a) of the Federal Constitution, and taken into account the views of various quarters, including the Prime Minister, Attorney General, as well as the intention and request from the Sarawak government to end the emergency proclamation. The dissolution paves way for the 12th state election to be held within 60 days.
Sarawak 12th state election will break new grounds thanks to COVID-19, with predictions that parties aren't allowed to hold rallies and strict adherence to standard operating procedures or SOP on polling day. Using the Melaka election as a reference point, Deputy Chief Minister Dato' Ahmad Douglas Ugah Embas hopes for realistic SOP when it comes to Sarawak election that will help all parties and candidates to run their campaigning smoothly.
Harapan kita SOP itu akan satu SOP yang realistik, yang boleh membantu kita berkempen. Dalam masa yang sama, kita juga menentukan bahawa segala requirement for social distancing and so on dapat dilaksanakan supaya mengelakkan dari penyakit itu merebak. That is one of the very, very important factor. So this is going to be a different scenario altogether, as we see in Melaka.
When asked whether Sarawak Disaster Management Committee were involved in formulating the SOP, this is what the former State Disaster Management Committee SDMC chairman has to say.
Saya bukan pengurusi SDMC lagi, saya setelah SS is taking over. So you got to ask them on the SOP. Kita menunggu SOP yang akan dikeluarkan oleh Election Commission dengan Kementerian Kesihatan Malaysia.
Sarawak Land Consolidation and Rehabilitation Authority, or SALCRA, will not merely focus on oil palm plantation program. As such, it has ventured into developing the ruminant industry to increase the state's meat production.
SALCRA also have a program of rearing cattle within the oil palm scheme. This now I think they have about almost 3,000 plus cattle throughout Sarawak. This program is run together with the veterinary department. Veterinary department is giving them a power scheme, loan scheme, whereby they have to pay one cattle within 6 years.
Commenting further, Ugah said SALCRA now has over 3,000 cattle in several of its farms throughout the state and will be getting another 600 imported from Australia. As of now, this program is seen to have brought positive impact and is very well implemented.
They've been doing very well, and it is indeed a good program. Number one, it reduced the cost of maintenance because the cattle graze, and so the cost of maintenance is safe. Then number two, of course, then that will be another stream of income for SALCRA in addition to their oil palm.
As such, over 80% of beef and mutton in the state are imported. The program will continue to be implemented, considering that Sarawak has sufficient land for oil palm cultivation. Development in Asajaya continues to be bolstered to provide comfort to its residents. Sarawak Tourism, Arts and Culture Minister Datuk Sri Abdul Karim Rahman Hamzah said development efforts will continue even under the caretaker government.
Kalau di Asajaya sini saja kita dapat melihat di Kampung Tembiran ada pasar yang sedang dibina, ada waterfront yang sedang dibina, ada tebingan sungai, benteng yang sedang dalam perancangan yang sudah diluluskan oleh kerajaan. Di Kampung Sambir ada skim pembesaran kampung, perumahan rakyat dan ngatur kubur.
He told a press conference after completing the compensation check presentation ceremony at Kampung Sambir, Kota Semarhan on Friday. At the same time, Abdul Karim explained that the riverbank project involving construction of retaining wall from Asajaya to Sebuyau to prevent the entry of seawater from high tide cost the most as compared to other projects.
680 juta untuk semua itu, dan selain daripada itu ya ada juga peruntukan untuk pertanian, untuk pelancongan dan yang lain-lain lah. Jadi yang melibatkan keseluruhan kawasan Semarhan, bukannya Asajaya saja. Asajaya, Sadung Jaya, Semunjan, Gedung, Sebuyau, Maratuang, Setakat dan sedikit kawasan Balai Ringin.
Commenting on the internet connection in Asajaya area, Abdul Karim said that there are villages that already have good internet access while some areas have yet to catch up.
Mengikut tempat, ada kampung-kampungnya sudah 100%, ada kampungnya yang mungkin dalam kawasan grey area, kadang-kadang petangnya ada, kadang-kadang tidak ada, ataupun kadang-kadang kalau kita pergi ke bannya ada. Jadi rancangan yang amat berhormat Ketua Menteri, harapan kita semua adalah untuk seluruh negeri Sarawak, konektivitinya 100%. Begitulah harapan kita. Ya.
Sarawak Tourism, Arts and Culture Ministry welcomes the suggestion of the National Security Council Chairman Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin in regards to the reopening of Malaysian borders to foreign tourists starting January 1st, 2022. Its Minister Datuk Sri Abdul Karim Rahman Hamzah said with 90% of the country's population already inoculated, the matter is not impossible to realise.
Mengalu-alukan proses tersebut dan berharap ia boleh menjadi kenyataan. Karena pada masa ini saya dapat melihat bahawa cara kita mengendalikan COVID-19 baiknya di Sarawak ataupun di Semenanjung Malaysia sudah agak teratur. Di Malaysia kalau tak silap saya lebih daripada 90% rakyat Malaysia sudah menerima 2 jet. Jadi bolehlah kita katakan bahawa cara kita mengurus COVID-19 ini cukup baik sekali.
Besides that, he hopes that Brunei, Indonesia and Singapore can speed up negotiations so that they can reopen the borders and receive tourists from other countries.
Dan juga Brunei. Kalau kita buka sempadan Brunei, Darussalam kata belum mau buka, tidak juga dapat. It has to be two ways. Jadi harapan saya kerajaan Malaysia dapat mengatur green lane bubble sini ataupun perjalanan membuka sempadan dengan Brunei, dengan Indonesia, dengan Singapura dapat diaturkan cepat perundingannya supaya dapat masuk ke Sarawak.
Parti Pesaka Bumiputra Bersatu or PPB Vice President Datuk Sri Abdul Karim Rahman Hamzah underlined that unvaccinated individuals shouldn't be excluded or an excuse to not vote. According to the Asajaya incumbent, voting is a universal right and is the people's responsibility.
Bagi saya, mereka ada hak untuk mengundi. Tapi mestilah harapan kita supaya semua orang yang pergi mengundi itu tidak tercemar oleh mereka yang tidak vaccinated. Siapa-siapa yang belum mendapat vaksin tersebut, ambillah vaksin supaya bila mereka bersusun untuk mengundi, orang lain tidak lari.
Karim, who is also the Minister of Tourism, Arts and Culture, also said there would not be an issue for Sarawakians residing in peninsular Malaysia to come back and vote, as a clear standard operating procedures SOP for incoming travellers has been announced by the Sarawak Disaster Management Committee (STMC).
The Sarawak government has allocated a total of 2.174 billion ringgit to the Ministry of Education, Science and Technological Research, or MESTR, thus reflecting the the government's commitment in making education one of its investment in human capital. Assistant Minister for Education, Science and Technological Research, Dr. Anwar Rapai, said even though education came under the federal government, such as in terms of budget and policy, the state government did not leave the responsibility to the federal government alone.
According to Dr. Anwar, the ministry was established for the first time under the leadership of Datuk Patinggi Abang Johari Tun Openg to improve the academic performance of students in Sarawak, which is far behind, especially based on the Ujian Percapaian Sekolah Menengah UPSR and Sijil Pelajaran Malaysia SPM results. Commenting further, he said the first task of ministry was to address the issue of dilapidated schools, involving a total of 1,020 schools in the state, as well as enhance the standard and quality of education in Sarawak. There are 8 initiatives implemented by the Sarawak government under MESTR since 2017, one of which was to repair or upgrade school infrastructures and facilities, involving a total allocation of 1.4 billion ringgit.
Malaysia kaya dengan kepelbagaian kaum, seni dan budaya. Keindahan alam semula jadi, khazanah warisan alam, pulau dan pantai serta keenakan makanannya. Semuanya ada di sini. Jom kita cuti-cuti Malaysia. Mempesona.
Dalam episod akan datang, Empresses in the Palace.
Cheese. 请娘娘先点戏。
本宫记得有一出极好的鼎制春秋，讲的是《三国志》的故事。皇后觉得如何呀？
既然你想看，那就先点着吧。
不怪皇上喜欢你，哀家也喜欢。主席，
是
取2匹云锦赐予婉贵人。
多谢太后。
Jangan lupa, Isnin hingga Khamis, 9:30 malam, Empresses in the Palace.
那什么时候撤了这道菜？可就是娘娘您手菜。
TVS saluran 122 Astro dan My TV.
Saksikan Kenali Dun Sarawak setiap Jumaat 5.30 petang hanya di TVS saluran 122 Astro dan My TV. #Sarawak Decides.
Welcome back. Only 15 out of 418 COVID-19 positive cases in Sarawak have lung infections, which required respiratory assistance. Sarawak Disaster Management Committee, SDMC, said the remaining figures were listed under asymptomatic or mild symptoms. 6 COVID-19 related deaths were recorded in Sarawak from November 7 to 11. Active clusters in the state stood at 15. Hospitals and other leading indicators are on a close watch by the Health Ministry, as the country's COVID-19 infectivity rate has increased to 1.0. Therefore, those who have been given a booster dose appointment are told to adhere to it, urged its Minister Khairi Jamaluddin.
Meanwhile, Health Director General Tan Sri Dr. Noor Hisham Abdullah said the increase in the infectivity rate means that the daily tally pattern of COVID-19 cases will be flattened. Dr. Noor Hisham also urged the public to continue complying with the standard operating procedures and the vulnerable to attend their appointments for booster shots. Additionally, he also expressed concern over the increase of positive COVID-19 cases in the country over the past 4 days, with 6,323 new cases reported on Thursday. Prior to this, the country's daily tally of COVID-19 had shown a declining trend with only 4,343 new cases reported on Sunday.
Moving on. An elderly was found dead with bloodstain on his mouth on the walk pavement in front of a bank along Jalan Tuanku Osman in Cebu on Thursday evening. Eyewitnesses claim that the victim looked weak before collapsing.
Acting Cebu District Police Chief Superintendent Colin Babat said the 67-year-old man was found unconscious and lying on his right side at a 5-foot way in front of the bank.
Si mati dikenali sebagai Awang Cik Awang Bujang, berusia 67 tahun, berasal daripada Kampung Bungin, Sepauh. Pihak kami yang menjalankan pemeriksaan ke atas mayat mendapati tiada kesan kecederaan dan darah keluar melalui mulutnya. Pemeriksaan kamera litar tertutup CCTV dari sebuah kedai berhampiran memaparkan si mati berjalan berseorangan dan kelihatan darah menitis di celah-celah kakinya ketika menuju ke arah tempat kejadian. Mayat kemudian dibawa ke Hospital Cebu untuk tindakan selanjutnya.
Earlier on at 5 p.m., 3 policemen from Cebu Central Police Station saw the man at a coffee shop at around 5 p.m. According to Colin, the victim's brother, who was informed about the incident, told him that his brother suffered from mental illness and lung cancer. It is understood that the victim occasionally took strolls alone around the town from morning until night. The case has been classified as sudden death SDR.
An online gambling operation center believed to have raked 1.26 million ringgit over the last 7 months since it became active was busted by the Kuching police. Police raided an apartment at Taman Senggun following 3 months of surveillance. Kuching Police Chief Assistant Commissioner Ashmon Baja said the raid was a huge success for his team as they continue to eradicate illegal gambling in Kuching district.
According to Ashman, the online gambling center operates 24 hours a day, scooping a large return of 6,000 ringgit a day. Police arrested the owner of the apartment as well as 7 Indonesian immigrants aged between 16 and 29 in the raid that took place around 3:05 p.m. yesterday. Further investigation found that the workers were paid 1,500 ringgit a month, including bonuses based on profits. Ashman added, the illegal activity was prompted through social media and phone messaging applications such as WhatsApp, WeChat, and Facebook by the workers. Police also managed to seize 6 computers and various devices used to run the illegal gambling activity. All the suspects are being investigated under Section 4(1)(g) of the Common Gaming Houses Act 1953. The 7 immigrant workers are also being investigated under Section 6(1)(c) of the Immigration Act 1959/1963.
A 16-year-old teenager was among 6 female illegal immigrants or Pati who were caught trying to smuggle their way into Sarawak through a red trail in Lundu. The 6 female were among 27 illegal immigrants from Indonesia caught without any valid traveling documents by military personnel from the 1st Infantry Division on routine patrol at around 8:30 p.m. last night.
The 1st Infantry Division in a statement today said the other 21 illegal immigrants aged between 22 and 55 years old and all 27 immigrants were caught at an oil palm farm near Biawak, Lundu. The individuals, when questioned, told the patrol team that their intention to enter Sarawak was to seek employment opportunities. All illegal immigrants were deported and a police report was lodged at the Lundu police station for further action. The 1st Infantry Division also stated that continuous monitoring and patrols will continue to be intensified through the Op Benteng initiative.
2 men believed to be involved in drug trafficking were flagged down by police at a hut near Kampong Midin, Semarang around 10 a.m. yesterday. Kuching Police Chief Assistant Commissioner Asmon Baja said the 2 local men, aged 27 and 32 years old, were found to be in possession of crystallized substance believed to be methamphetamine weighing 52.38 grams.
Ashman said police found a translucent packet on the floor of the hut containing the illicit substances. Both suspects were found positive of amphetamine. Further investigation also found that 32-year-old suspect have had 2 criminal records. The duo are being held to facilitate investigation under Section 39B 1952 and if convicted can be sentenced to death by hanging.
A search and rescue operation continues for a 17-year-old who went missing after jumping into Sungai Batang Paloh near Tanjung Manis to cool off at around 10:05 last night. It is understood that the victim, identified as Alex Rudy Ray Ali, was sitting on the jetty with 2 friends. According to Tanjung Manis Fire and Rescue Chief Wan Umar Wan Ale, the victim's friends alerted the villagers for help after they failed to locate him, but to no avail. This prompted a report of a missing person, which led to the activation of the search operation.
Game over 嘅聲係咁嘅。如果你哋冇緣分啊，你哋點會識到啊？如果佢唔中意你啊，又點會咁緊張你啊？
Dalam perjalanan ke pejabat, Paul bertemu dengan 2 wanita, Monica yang baru sahaja memutuskan hubungannya dengan suami orang dan Anita, seorang wanita kaya yang menyukai Paul.
你走啊
！Monica， 你做咩啫？同佢講，你愛嘅係我。
唔得。
Adakah Paul akan jatuh cinta kepada Monica? Bagaimana pula dengan nasib Anita? Saksikan Behind the Yellow Line Sabtu ini jam 9 malam hanya di TVS saluran 122 Astro dan My TV.
Anak yang tidak mendapat cukup makanan berkhasiat berisiko mengalami masalah berat badan, susut serta bantut. Kurang zat makanan akan menyebabkan anak kita kelihatan kecil dan rendah dari rakan sebaya, sering sakit, tidak aktif, bermasalah dalam pembelajaran, tidak produktif, kurang keyakinan diri dan berisiko kepada masalah penyakit lain. Jadi, pastikan anak kita mendapat makanan yang berkhasiat agar mereka membesar dengan sihat, kuat, bijak dan aktif. Jom jadi anak Malaysia yang tinggi, sihat selamanya.
Thank you for staying with me. Let's continue with news from around the globe. The Chilean government on Thursday staged its yearly firearms destruction event at which 13,000 firearms were destroyed. The weapons were in the custody of security forces after having been seized in various operations or turned in voluntarily by the public. Chilean President Sebastián Piñera said the ongoing program is aimed at reducing the circulation of weapons in the hands of criminals and ensuring the public's safety.
Combatido la delincuencia, la violencia en todo su frente y muy especialmente el narcotráfico, el terrorismo y el uso de armas de fuego. Unidos con voluntad y con perseverancia, vamos a lograr que la delincuencia retroceda y que la paz avance en la vida de las familias de nuestro país.
Pinera and Chilean Interior Minister Rodrigo Delgado were among the officials that attended the mass destruction of weapons. Pistols, shotguns, revolvers, and rifles, among other weaponry, were removed from circulation either by order of the judiciary or by being voluntarily turned in, after which a two-stage process to render them unusable is carried out. First, the weapons are made unusable by cutting off the barrels of long guns or crushing smaller guns, and then later they are completely destroyed by smashing them in the hydraulic press and then melting them down. Thanks to the weapons destruction program, which has been underway almost without let-up since 1990, more than 185,000 firearms have been removed from circulation according to officials' figures.
4 astronauts, 3 from NASA and 1 from the European Space Agency, arrived at the International Space Station, or ISS, on Thursday, November 11, and docked their SpaceX Crew Dragon capsule, dubbed Endurance, to begin a 6-month science mission.
The rendezvous came about 21 hours after the team and its capsule were launched atop a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket from NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Cape Canaveral, Florida, on Wednesday, November 10th, following a string of weather delays that postponed the liftoff for a week and a half. The Endurance crew consists of 3 American NASA astronauts, Flight Commander Rajachari 44, Mission Pilot Tom Mashburn 61, and Mission Specialist Kayla Barron 34, as well as German astronaut Matthias Moria 51, a mission specialist from the European Space Agency. On arrival, the crew took inventory, conducted standard leak checks, and pressurized the space between the spacecraft in preparation for opening the hatch to the space station about 2 hours later. The space station, spanning the size of an American football field end-to-end, has been continuously occupied since November 2000, operated by an international partnership of 5 space agencies from 15 countries.
And that wraps up the Nightline for today. Before we go, I'd like to wish everyone watching have a great weekend and stay safe. Once again, I'm Hari Zainuddin. It's been a pleasure.